Aviation has its own language of hundreds of aeronautical terms. You will find the most common aviation term as well as some not so common aviation terms with my discussion today. Some come from the French, German, even military uses. But remember that English is always the official language of aviation. You need to learn all of the abbreviation slang and the definition of aviation words. Acronyms are a large part of aviation jargon. This glossary of terms provides the basic definitions of airline lingo. We have compiled this dictionary that covers traditional pilot terms and includes funny phrases as well as a handshake in aviation means something entirely different than what you might expect. So, the terminology that starts with alphabet A, absolute altitude, the vertical distance between the aircraft and ground level. Absolute ceiling, the highest altitude an aircraft can fly at maximum throttle while maintaining level height and constant airspeed. Accelerated stall, a stall that occurs at a higher airspeed than a normal stall due to higher load factor. Adverse yaw, adverse yaw occurs when the plane's nose turns away from the direction of turn. ADF, that is automatic direction finder, a navigation system that identifies the relative bearing of an aircraft based on a radio beacon transmitting in the MF or LF bandwidth. Adiabatic lapse rate, the rate at which temperature changes due to increasing and decreasing altitude under conditions of thermal equilibrium. Adverse, when an aircraft turns in the opposite direction of a roll due to use of ailerons and the difference in the lift and drag of each wing. Aeronautical decision making, training and planning to make the best and safest decision to mitigate risk. Aeronautical Information Manual, AIM, an official Federal Aviation Administration FAA publication that details proper pilot operation within the US National Airspace System, including air traffic control ATC and aviation safety. AGL, above ground level, the vertical distance measured between the aircraft and a specific landmass. This is not the sea level. Unless the aircraft is flying over a mountain, so it's the difference between the top of the mountain to the aircraft. Aileron, the movable hinged flight control surface that are used in pairs with opposite motions to control the roll of an aircraft. Learn more about aileron. AIM, Aeronautical Information Manual, official guide published by the FAA, that is Federation Aviation Administration, to instruct pilots on how to operate inside the US National Airspace System with regard to flight information, ATC, etc. Air Defense Identification Zone, ADIG, the airspace over both water and land within which the identification, location, control of civil aircraft is required in the interest of national security. Airfoil, the cross-sectional shape of wing, blade, turbine, or rotor that produces lift. Airline, a company or organization that offers regularly scheduled flights or routes. Airspace classes, the different types of airspace defined by ICAO, and adopted around the world. They include control, uncontrolled, and special use airspace, airspeed indicator (ASI), a pilot static flight instruments that indicates airspeed of an aircraft through an air mass in miles per hour, knots, or both. A taxi operator, an aircraft company that operates under FAR Part 135. The aircraft must be originally designed to have no more than 60 passenger seats or a cargo payload of 18,000 IVS and carries cargo or mail on either a scheduled or charter basis and or a carries passenger on an demand basis or limited excusable basis. Alpha code. The NATO phonetic alphabet is used by pilots to communicate clearly with ATC and other pilots. That is called alpha code. Altimeter, an instrument that measures an object's altitude above a fixed surface. Altitude indicator, an instrument that indicates aircraft orientation relative to Earth's horizon. AMT, abbreviation for aviation maintenance technician, which is another term for an aircraft mechanic. AME, aviation medical examiner. Angle of attack, the angle between the reference line on an airfoil and the direction of the oncoming air. Angle of incidence, the angle at which a reference line on an airfoil is perpendicular to the aircraft's longitudinal surface axis. And hedral, the downward angle of aircraft wings from the horizontal cross section of the wings. Annual inspection, a required aircraft inspection every 12 calendar months. ANP, aircraft and power plant mechanic, approach the phase of flight when the pilot intends to land on the runway. There are different types of approach depending on whether the pilot is flying VFR or IFR. Apron, the paved area at an airport where aircraft park, fuel, load, and unload. That is called apron. ATC, air traffic control, a ground-based service that ensures safety of an air traffic by directing aircraft in the area during takeoff, landing, and while flying in the designated airspace. AFIX ATC is KEVB. It is Automatic Terminal Information Service, a continuous broadcast of pre-recorded aviation information available to pilots around specific terminals. The information is constantly updated and designed for mass spreading of relevant information, which is particularly useful at busy airports. Avionics master switch, a single switch that controls the electrical power for an aircraft's electronic communication and navigation instrument. AWIS, Aviation Weather Information Service. The alphabet B. What are the aviation terminology start with B? Base leg, the flight path in an airport pattern that runs in the runway landing direction. Baseline, the minimum or starting point used for comparison. Best lift over drag ratio, often referred to as L over Dmax. This is the highest value of ratios of lift to drag for any airfoil. Blade angle, the angle between the reference line of a propeller blade and a plane perpendicular to the axis of rotation. Bleed air, hot compressed air produced during the compressor stage of aircraft engine operation. So we have discussed aviation terminology that starts with alphabet A and B, and in next discussion I'll continue with the letter C and follow through. Good luck.